The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the elegant lobby of the Grand Elm Hotel. Claire stood at the reception desk, her fingers lightly tapping on the wood. She wore a tailored navy dress that hugged her curves, and her smile seemed warm even if it didn't quite reach her eyes. She was a newcomer in town, seeking a fresh start after the chaos of her past. As she waited for the hotel manager, her eyes wandered around the lobby. Elegant chandeliers glimmered overhead, and plush chairs invited guests to sit and relax. The air felt thick with whispered conversations and laughter, a buzzing community that Claire longed to be a part of. "Good evening," a voice broke through her thoughts. Claire turned to see the hotel manager, a tall man with salt and pepper hair, wearing a navy blazer paired with crisp white trousers. He greeted her with an easy confidence, but there was something about him that hinted at authority. Before she could respond, the door swung open, revealing a man dressed in a simple but well-fitted black t-shirt and jeans. He carried himself with an ease that seemed at odds with the polished surroundings, as if he belonged to a different world. As he entered, his eyes caught Claire's, and a spark of recognition flickered for a moment. The hotel manager smiled at the newcomer. "Ah, Mr. Jensen, welcome back." Claire raised an eyebrow, intrigued. She noticed how he carried himself, his back straight and his eyes steady. There was an air of quiet confidence about him that piqued her curiosity. Just then, the hotel manager turned to address her again. "And this is Miss Claire Harper, our new guest." Claire nodded politely, her heart thumping slightly faster as Mr. Jensen turned to her. His voice was low and smooth, like warm honey. "Nice to meet you too," she replied, trying to keep her demeanor composed. The two exchanged a brief but intense glance. The hotel manager broke the tension. Then, with a flourish, the manager placed a key card in front of Claire. "Room 312. After thanking him, Claire turned back to Mr. Jensen, who was now leaning against the reception desk, studying her with a curious gaze. He asked, his tone casual yet somehow layered with depth. "I needed a change," Claire admitted, surprising herself with her honesty. Mr. Jensen nodded, as if understanding without needing to hear more. "Sometimes that's all we need. I've visited this place many times." Claire felt a flicker of connection, something she had buried deep inside her heart for months. Just as their conversation began to deepen, the hotel manager interjected. The manager addressed him with a tone that shifted abruptly, a mix of respect and trepidation. Mr. Jensen nodded, standing up straighter, almost like he was shedding the casualness he had moments before. As he followed the manager, Claire felt an odd sensation creep over her, a feeling of curiosity mingled with unease. She picked up her suitcase and headed to her room, the keycard clutched tight in her hand. As she walked down the dimly lit corridor, her mind raced with thoughts. Who was this man? Why did the hotel manager speak to him with such reverence? Claire settled into her room, unpacking only a few essentials before staring out the window. The view was breathtaking, overlooking a park where children played and couples strolled hand in hand, but all her thoughts drifted back to Mr. Jensen. Problem was, the more she tried to forget about him, the more he occupied her mind. As the evening turned to night, the hotel lobby buzzed with energy. Claire found herself drawn to the bar area, looking to ease her nerves with a drink. The soft glow of the lights created an intimate atmosphere, and she settled on a bar stool, ordering a glass of red wine. That's when she saw him again, Mr. Jensen, laughing with a group of people who seemed mesmerized by him. His charm was palpable. Claire felt a pang of something she hadn't felt in a long time, a mix of admiration and longing. Minutes turned to hours as Claire lost track of time. Just before midnight, she decided it was time to retreat to her room. She stood to leave when Mr. Jensen unexpectedly caught her eye again. He approached her, his expression warm. He teased lightly. "Just a drink to unwind," Claire replied. He raised his glass slightly. Claire mirrored his gesture. They clinked their glasses and sipped. The warmth of the wine chased away the chilly undertones of uncertainty. For the next hour, they engaged in easy conversation, sharing snippets of their lives. Claire learned that Mr. Jensen, too, had faced hardships, albeit on a much larger scale. He spoke about his success, his failures, and the weight of expectations that never quite seemed to leave him. She listened intently, a mix of sympathy and admiration growing within her. Then, just as the mood shifted to something more tender, the hotel manager stepped back into view, clearing his throat. Mr. Jensen immediately stood tall, his demeanor shifting back into that commanding persona from earlier. "Mr. Jensen, the board is waiting for your input on the upcoming project," the manager said, his voice clipped. Claire's heart sank. She asked, her interest piqued. Mr. Jensen turned to her with a hint of regret in his eyes. "The renovation of this hotel," he explained, his tone more serious. Claire felt her stomach twist. The lightheartedness of the evening evaporated, leaving an awkward silence. All the warmth she had felt turned into an ice-cold reality. He was the owner. This place wasn't just a pit stop for him. It was part of a legacy, a responsibility. The manager continued. "We've discussed significant changes, Mr. Jensen." Claire felt lost. Here she was, opening up to a man who seemed so ordinary at first, but now everything changed. He was a man of power and influence. What did they have in common? Mr. Jensen glanced at Claire, his gaze thoughtful but mixed with the intensity of duty. "I'll be right there," he assured the manager, then turned back to Claire. But it felt more overwhelming now than ever. "So you're," she asked, trying to keep her tone light, but a tremor crept in. "Rich isn't the right word," he said softly. "We all have our struggles, Claire." His words struck a chord deep within her. She understood struggle. She imagined he had his demons just like she did, but in that moment, standing in the tasteful bar of a luxurious hotel, it felt like they were worlds apart. "I should go," she murmured, feeling small and out of her depth. Mr. Jensen's expression changed as she turned to leave. "Wait, Claire, why? You underestimate the power of connection," he replied, his eyes intense. "Being an owner means nothing if I can't share those burdens with someone." Claire hesitated, battling the walls she had built. He stepped closer, the air between them charged. "I was once in your shoes, feeling out of place, but sometimes it's our differences that can create the strongest bonds." For a moment, Claire felt lost, knowing he could see through her defenses. She turned to him, her heart racing. They agreed to meet again, and as Claire walked to her room, the tension in her chest lightened slightly. Hope crept in like a tender light. Maybe this was her fresh start, one filled with the possibility of connection, understanding, and maybe even love. The next day they explored the city together, laughter spilling between them like confetti. It felt natural, and the difference in status faded into the background. They shared meals, stories, and dreams. Claire found solace in his presence, and he seemed genuinely interested in her thoughts and experiences. As the sun dipped below the horizon on their final evening, standing on the balcony of her hotel room, Claire felt a pang of something bittersweet. She asked, her voice quiet. Mr. Jensen turned, his expression serious. "You're not leaving alone, Claire." Her heart swelled with hope, yet doubt crept back in. "But your life is so different. The world will always talk," he said firmly, "but it doesn't dictate love, does it?" Claire looked out at the city lights twinkling like stars, her mind racing with emotions. "I want to be with you, I do." He took her hands, grounding her. "You won't lose yourself. You'll find more of who you are." In that moment, under the sprawling sky, Claire realized life was not just about the struggles they faced, but about the connections they formed along the way. And as they shared that first hesitant kiss, everything began to change. The hotel stood behind them, guarding secrets and stories of those who had come before. But Claire now knew that even the grandest of places could soften around the edges with genuine connection, one filled with understanding, respect, and love, despite the barriers that may stand in their way. The lobby of the Grand Crest Hotel was alive with chatter, the sound of laughter, the clinking of glasses, and the soft rustle of elegant dresses gliding across polished floors. Claire stood frozen by the grand staircase, grappling with her nerves. She had spent months planning this trip, searching for a new beginning, and yet anxiety twisted in her stomach. The voice of the hotel concierge broke through her thoughts. "No, thank you," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. She kept her gaze fixed on the entrance, as if waiting for something or someone to change everything. Just then, the double doors swung open, and in walked a man wearing a simple black t-shirt and jeans, his hair tousled as though he had just rolled out of bed. At first glance, he seemed ordinary, but there was something in his stride, his confidence, that made Claire's heart race. She watched as he made his way toward the reception desk, flashing a brief smile at a curious hotel guest. Mr. Jensen, the hotel manager, a tall man with a perfectly combed hairstyle and a tailored suit, stepped forward. His tone was warm but also slightly reverential, as if addressing royalty. Claire furrowed her brow. Who was this guy? She couldn't help but feel a strange mix of awe and curiosity. She continued to stare until he caught her gaze, his eyes locking onto hers with an unexpected intensity. "Hi there," he said, his voice low and easy, as if inviting her into a secret world. Claire smiled back, surprised by her own reaction. Just then, something shifted in the atmosphere, a crackle of energy that seemed to spark between them. The hotel manager cleared his throat, breaking the moment. The man's tone changed slightly, becoming more formal. "Sure thing," Mr. Jensen replied, but then he turned back to Claire, his expression softening. "Thanks, I'm sure I will," she managed, though her mind reeled as the manager led him away. As Claire leaned against the polished wooden railing of the staircase, 1,000 questions raced through her mind. Who was this man, the owner of the hotel? The thought felt absurd, yet the way the manager addressed him made it hard to ignore. She glanced back toward the reception desk, hoping to catch another glimpse of Mr. Jensen, but he had disappeared behind an office door. The minutes stretched long and awkward as Claire waited for her turn to check in. Finally, the receptionist smiled at her. "Welcome to the Grand Crest." Claire blinked, momentarily lost for words as she tried to hide her fascination. "Excellent." The receptionist tapped away on the keyboard, finally producing a room key. "Here's your key, room 402. "Thank you," Claire said, clutching the keycard tightly, though her thoughts were still consumed by the man she had just met, or rather, the man she had barely met. After stowing her bags in her room, Claire found herself restless. The allure of the hotel drew her back down to the lobby. The ambience was intoxicating. Plush velvet couches and chandeliers softly lit the space, creating a cozy atmosphere amidst the bustling crowd. As she maneuvered through the guests, she caught sight of a group gathered around a plush chair. and in the center was Mr. Jensen, surrounded by laughter and animated conversation. His charisma was magnetic, as if he effortlessly pulled people toward him. Curiosity pricked at Claire. She moved closer, leaning against a nearby wall to observe. He told a story about a recent business trip gone wrong, and his followers were entranced, hanging on every word. At that moment, Claire could barely breathe. How could someone so seemingly ordinary command such attention? Then their eyes met again. He raised his glass in a silent toast, a playful grin breaking across his face. Claire felt herself blush, her heart pounding uncomfortably in her chest. But as if the universe decided to interject, the hotel manager reappeared, looking serious. "Mr. Jensen, the board needs your decision on the renovation plans," he stated, casting a quick glance at Claire, almost as if assessing her reaction. Mr. Jensen stood up, his demeanor shifting to one of authority. She nodded, trying to appear nonchalant, but inside, a torrent of emotions swirled. This wasn't just a chance meeting, this felt monumental. Claire wandered back to the bar area, hoping to calm her racing heart. She ordered a glass of wine, watching the bartender expertly mix drinks for a large party. As she waited, she caught snippets of chatter around her talk of parties, careers, and dreams. "I overheard Mr. Jensen's going to renovate the hotel," a woman next to her said, sipping a cocktail. "Can you believe it?" Claire asked, her curiosity getting the better of her. "Oh, he's one of the owners," the woman replied casually, as if this were common knowledge, a real entrepreneur. "He's had successes and failures, but he always bounces back." Claire felt her heart sink a little. The man she had felt an inexplicable connection with was a powerful figure, someone who lived in a different world. The evening wore on, and Claire found herself drawn outside to a patio overlooking a beautiful garden. The soft sound of water trickling from a fountain mixed with the distant laughter of guests, creating a serene escape. She took a deep breath, trying to regain her composure. Just then, Mr. Jensen stepped outside, his face lighting up when he saw her. "There you are." "I was hoping I'd find you," he said, his energy infectious. Claire asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "I needed a break from the chaos in there. It gets overwhelming sometimes," he admitted, leaning against the railing beside her. She felt an honesty slip out, and it felt liberating. He raised an eyebrow, that teasing smile returning. "I mean influential," she clarified, her heart racing. "Your stories were captivating." "Belonging isn't defined by titles or wealth," he replied, his voice sincere. "It's about connection." Claire met his gaze, the depth of his words washing over her. She could feel the tension sliding away, but just as she began to lean into the moment, the hotel manager emerged again, his expression rigid. "Mr. Jensen, they're waiting for you in the conference room," he said, a hint of impatience in his voice. Mr. Jensen sighed but didn't look away from Claire. "I'll be back soon." "Sure," Claire replied, but her mind was racing. The walls that had momentarily felt porous started to solidify again. What did she really know about him? As he walked away, Claire felt the weight of uncertainty settle in her chest. She watched him step inside the hotel, disappearing again into the whirlwind of his world. Minutes felt like hours as she wrestled with her thoughts. By the time Mr. Jensen returned, Claire was lost in her own doubts. "Hey, I'm back," he said, casually near, as if the conversation had just paused. But Claire noticed he seemed more serious now, the casual charm slightly dimmed. She asked. "Yeah," he replied, yet his tone carried a layer of complexity. "Business stuff." Claire bit her lip, trying to make sense of the shift. He shook his head, stepping closer. "You don't have to see it that way. I'm just a guy trying to do right by my family and my staff. The rest is just, it's more than noise to some people," Claire countered softly. "A lot of people struggle while you make decisions that affect them." His dark eyes narrowed, and for a moment Claire feared she had crossed a line, but then he sighed deeply. "It does. Every choice I make is a reflection of responsibility, but it's also true that I want to make things better." It raced again, but this time with something different, a flicker of hope. He paused, his gaze steady. "Because even with all the chaos, I felt a connection with you, a chance to share our stories, our vulnerabilities." In that moment, Claire felt a shift. Maybe being swept up in his world wasn't about losing herself, but rather about learning a new perspective. They were standing on the same horizon, even if their views differed drastically. "Okay," she said, feeling a newfound determination. They settled into deeper conversation, sharing thoughts about dreams, fears, and past regrets as the world slowed around them. An invisible line blurred between their realities, creating a space that felt uniquely theirs. "Remember your first night? You were so nervous, and I was just some ordinary guy walking in," he chuckled, lightening the mood. Claire exclaimed, a smirk playing on her lips. As they talked into the night, the tension unfurled into laughter and understanding. They realized that even with the differences in their lives, there was something they both craved: connection, understanding, and a glimpse into a world beyond their own. The moon cast a soft glow over the patio, a witness to the budding relationship forming between two souls navigating the upheavals of life. There, amidst the chaos, Claire found clarity, a connection that went beyond titles or expectations. As dawn peeked over the horizon, she knew that the journey ahead would not be easy, but for the first time in a long time, it felt exhilarating. With a heart full of hope, Claire understood she wasn't just here to escape. She was here to embrace the uncharted paths that lay ahead. And maybe, just maybe, those paths would intertwine with Mr. Jensen's in ways they couldn't yet imagine. The sound of the hotel lobby was a symphony of clinking glasses and quiet laughter, but Claire stood out. Her gaze was fixed on the entrance, her heart pounding in sync with the rhythmic beat of her nerves. She had traveled to this luxurious hotel seeking a fresh beginning, but part of her felt entirely out of place. Just then, the grand door swung open. A man strolled in, dressed casually in a simple navy shirt and jeans, yet he had an undeniable air of confidence that drew attention. The moment he stepped into the room, eyes shifted toward him. Claire felt a mix of intrigue and unease, as if he radiated something powerful, something that made her wonder what sort of life he led. "Mr." called a voice from the reception desk. It was the hotel manager, a sharply dressed man with perfectly groomed hair and an air of authority. "Welcome back." Claire's heart skipped a beat. "Mr. Jensen." The way the manager spoke, it sounded as if he were announcing royalty. She couldn't help but lean in closer, her curiosity piqued. The man in front of her tilted his head slightly at the greeting, a glint of charisma sparkling in his eyes. "Thank you," he replied, his voice smooth as silk. She couldn't look away. As he made his way toward the front desk, he casually acknowledged the other guests, his smile disarming everyone around him. Claire felt a connection that was both exhilarating and terrifying. She was just about to say something when the hotel manager gestured toward her. He said, his tone shifting from business to hospitality. Feeling the weight of their attention, Claire nodded politely, her voice faltering. "Hi." Mr. Jensen's gaze swept over her, assessing. There was a warmth in his tone that sent a shiver down her spine. Then the hotel manager's voice took on a different note. "Mr. Jensen, may I have a word with you in my office?" Suddenly, the warmth in the air shifted. Mr. Jensen straightened, his casual charm replaced by a look of focus. "Of course, I'll be right there," he replied, but then turned back to Claire, almost as if he wanted to say more. She hesitated, gathering her thoughts, but before he could answer, the manager tucked his arm around Mr. Jensen's, leading him away. Claire felt the thread between them snap. She absorbed the moment, the sense of something unspoken hanging in the air. Who was he? What was his story? Something about him ignited a hope deep inside her, the kind that she had long buried. As the minutes passed, Claire found herself in a state of restlessness. She checked in at the desk with a polite smile, but couldn't shake off her intrigue about Mr. Jensen. Eventually, she made her way upstairs to her room, but sleep eluded her. Instead, she stood on the balcony, watching the sun dip below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and lavender. A soft knock at the door jolted her from her thoughts. It was the hotel concierge delivering her luggage. He asked, glancing around the luxurious room. Claire smiled. As she closed the door, her mind wandered back to Mr. Jensen. She couldn't shake the image of him from her head. There was something compelling, something real about the brief connection they made amidst strangers. Later that evening, she decided to explore the hotel's amenities. The bar was dimly lit, filled with animated chatter. She ordered a glass of wine, hoping the rich flavor would ease her racing heart. As she sat quietly, she couldn't help but glance toward the entrance, and then she saw him again. Mr. Jensen walked in, his presence commanding, effortless. He was with a group of people, each laughter spilling like golden confetti into the air. They seemed enthralled, hanging on his every word. A sense of warmth enveloped her, but there was also a sense of distance, like he was out of reach. Her drink arrived, and she took a sip, willing herself to focus on something else. But then, out of the corner of her eye, Mr. Jensen turned his head and caught her gaze. Recognition surged between them, and he broke away from his group, striding toward her with purpose. "Claire," he said, leaning against the bar with a casual elegance that made her heart skip. "Just trying to unwind," she replied, doing her best to suppress the butterflies in her stomach. "Seems like the perfect place for that," he said, his eyes sparkling. "It's beautiful," she said, gesturing toward the lavish decor. His expression softened. "I think we've all felt that way at some point." His words sent a current of connection coursing through her, electrifying the air between them. The laughter from his friends faded into the background, leaving just the two of them in a bubble of shared understanding. He asked, leaning closer, genuinely interested. "I'm looking for a fresh start," Claire admitted, surprised at her own honesty. Mr. Jensen nodded as if he understood more than she had shared. Change can be intimidating, but also exhilarating. Just then, the hotel manager appeared again, catching Claire off guard. Mr. Jensen soon shifted back into business mode, an unguarded expression giving way to focused composure. Then he looked back to Claire, a hint of regret in his gaze. "Go ahead," she replied, trying to hide her disappointment. With that, he walked away, every step echoing in the silence he left behind. Claire stirred her glass absent-mindedly, feeling an odd mix of excitement and dread. The minutes trickled by, and Claire found herself alone again, swirling in thoughts as she tried to process everything. She had only known him for a few moments, but her mind lingered on those interactions. Who was he really? The owner of the hotel, and suddenly everything felt different. Just as she was about to leave the bar, Mr. Jensen returned, a serious look on his face. "I'm sorry about earlier." "No worries at all," Claire said, attempting to shake off her earlier feelings. He softened, the corner of his mouth quirking up slightly. "Would you mind joining me for a nightcap?" Claire was taken off guard. He motioned toward the plush seating area by the windows. She hesitated, considering her initial reluctance about crossing lines in this extravagant hotel world. But something about his invitation felt genuine, so she followed him to the seating area. Settling down with a drink, Claire found herself relaxing for the first time. They spoke about everything and nothing about dreams and fears, about pushing through life's challenges. He shared stories of childhood struggles and triumphs, opening a door from his world into hers. As the hours passed, Claire realized this was more than a chance encounter. It was a pivotal moment that would carve a place in her heart. Mr. Jensen was no longer just the charming owner of the hotel. He was a man navigating his own shadows. He asked gently. The question hung in the air, and she took a moment to think. "Honestly, I dream of finding my place," she finally admitted, vulnerability spilling over. "Belonging isn't about the place, it's about the people you connect with," he said, and this time there was a gravity to his words. He leaned into her space, gathering her attention with his sincerity. "We're not so different, you and I." Claire felt her heart flutter, a complex array of emotions swirling deep inside her. He was right, they were both lost in a world demanding clarity. But just then the hotel manager approached again, his expression stern. "Mr. Jensen, we need to finalize the budget for the renovations first thing in the morning." The weight of expectation landed heavily on Mr. Jensen's shoulders. Of course. Turning to Claire, he sighed. Claire echoed, feeling a twinge of reality. The world around them was still moving on while they hovered in this bubble of intimacy. He smiled knowingly. "It's okay." Claire hesitated, wrestling with her thoughts. Mr. Jensen's gaze stayed locked onto hers. "I can handle both." And just like that, the distance closed between them again. As the night wore on, Claire began to feel something deeper than she expected. She was coming alive, opening up to a man who felt real in a world filled with pretense. Just as they began to share stories of their dreams, dancing around the hidden intricacies of their lives, Claire noticed the tension creeping back into Mr. Jensen's expression. She asked, concern surging. "I struggle with balancing it all," he said, his voice dropping lower. "Sometimes I fear losing parts of myself in this industry. I want more than just success." Claire's heart raced. Authenticity. He pondered her words, nodding slowly. "You might be right." "Life is about connection," Claire offered. He sighed, a mix of tension and relief washing over him. Claire chuckled softly, shaking her head. In that moment, Mr. Jensen leaned closer, the connection deepening in ways neither would have predicted. They shared vulnerability like a whispered secret under the dim glow of the bar lights, two strangers who found solace in their shared uncertainties. As the evening drew to a close, Claire felt an overwhelming sense of possibility. World outside may have been filled with expectations, but here and now it was just them, two souls navigating the chaos of life. Mr. Jensen offered, his voice low and sincere. Claire nodded. As they walked through the beautifully designed hallways, the air thrummed with tension, a mixture of excitement and uncertainty. Their conversation flowed fluently, bouncing between stories and laughter, a rhythm that felt familiar despite their short time together. When they reached her door, the weight of the moment settled in. Claire felt her breath hitch. She found herself both afraid and exhilarated. "Thank you for tonight," she said, her voice steady. I feel the same," he replied, stepping closer. Claire couldn't help but smile, warmth flooding her heart. "Learning is what matters then, and I want to learn more." As he leaned slightly forward, Claire felt the magnetic pull between them grow stronger. The comfort, the connection, it felt like an unspoken promise. But she hesitated, a flicker of reality crashing back. "You're the hotel owner, I'm just..." Mr. Jensen's gaze deepened, his expression serious. "Those titles don't define us." With that, the doorway became less of an exit and more of a threshold, a portal to potential. Claire's heart raced as they stood there, two worlds on the brink of intertwining. Moments passed in silence, a sacred understanding settling between them. In that instant, she realized that life filled with its complexities had brought them together precisely at the right time. Finally, she took a deep breath, and as he leaned forward to capture that fleeting moment with a soft, tentative kiss, Claire knew they were just beginning a journey neither could have anticipated. Perhaps this hotel was more than just a luxurious escape. It had become a haven for discovering what it truly meant to belong and to be seen. The lobby of the Grand Oak Hotel was bustling with energy as Claire Harper stepped inside, her heels echoing against the marble floor. The ceiling rose high above, adorned with ornate chandeliers that glimmered like stars. For her, this hotel represented a fresh start, a chance to leave behind everything that had weighed her down. She approached the reception desk, scanning the room. Guests mingled, laughter and clinking glasses creating a symphony of life. Claire felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. She was just about to check in when the doors swung open with a heavy creak, drawing everyone's attention. In walked a man with an easy confidence. He wore a simple navy shirt and dark jeans, yet something about him commanded respect. The way he carried himself drew the gaze of everyone in the lobby, including Claire. It was as if he radiated an invisible energy, igniting curiosity in those around him. The hotel manager, a well-dressed man with a crisp suit and a perfectly combed hairstyle, rushed over, a warm smile plastered on his face. Mr. Jensen, welcome back. Thanks, Mark, the man replied warmly, his voice smooth and inviting. Claire caught herself leaning in, intrigued. Who was this Mr. Jensen? She felt a knot of anticipation form in her stomach. Then, as if sensing her gaze, he turned and locked eyes with her. There was a moment, just a fleeting second, when the rest of the world seemed to fade away. "Hi," he said, a friendly smile breaking across his face. "Claire," she managed, her pulse racing. Before she could delve deeper into the moment, the hotel manager interjected, his tone shifting. "Mr. Of course," Matt replied, but then he paused, glancing back at Claire. The warmth that radiated from him was almost palpable. She nodded politely, but inside, confusion swirled. Why had the manager spoken about him with such reverence? Was he a celebrity, or perhaps a business tycoon? The word owner flitted through her mind, but she pushed it aside, unwilling to accept the implication just yet. After checking in and receiving her key, Claire made her way to her room on the 4th floor. The opulence of the hotel wrapped around her like a soft blanket, but the thought of Matt lingered like a ghost. She stood by the window, watching the world below, the vibrant energy of the city pulsing just beyond her reach. That night, Claire wandered down to the hotel bar. It was dimly lit, intimate, and alluring. She ordered a glass of red wine, hoping to ease her jittery nerves. As she sipped, her thoughts drifted to Matt. Had he really looked at her like that? Did he feel the same spark she did? Just then, the door swung open, and in walked Matt, the cast of laughter and liveliness following him like a loyal companion. He looked relaxed, his shirt slightly wrinkled, as if he had thrown it on in a hurry. A group of friends surrounded him, telling stories and exchanging jokes. Yet Claire couldn't shake the feeling that he was different from them, caught between worlds. Josh, one of his friends, leaned in closer to Matt, gesturing animatedly. "You're going to love this place." Claire's heart sank. Owner. The word echoed in her mind, resonating somewhere deep within. The way Josh had said it made it clear that Matt wasn't just another guest. He was in charge, holding the reins of something grand. Suddenly, Matt's gaze broke away from his friends and landed on her. He raised his glass in a casual greeting and then excused himself from the group, making a beeline toward Claire. "This is a surprise," he said, that irresistible smile spreading across his face. "I needed a moment to unwind," she admitted, her cheeks flushing. "Just finishing up a meeting." His admission made her heart flutter. Claire asked, her voice barely a whisper. Matt chuckled softly, his eyes sparkling with amusement. "Yes, and I swear it gets crazier each time, but you know what? I still love it." Flustered, Claire replied, "Me. That's the beauty of it." He leaned in closer, lowering his voice conspiratorially. They exchanged small talk that flowed like wine, easy and comfortable. Matt told stories about the hotel, and Claire shared bits of her life, feeling a sense of release with every word she spoke. For the first time in a long while, she felt genuinely seen, but the laughter of his friends echoed, pulling Matt's attention away. "I should get back to them," he said, disappointment tinting his voice. "Can I ask you to meet me here tomorrow evening?" "Sure," Claire replied, a thrill darting through her. She watched as he joined his friends, a knot of emotions swirling inside her. Could something real blossom between them, or was she just a fleeting moment in his busy life? The next day passed in a blur. Claire explored the city, but her mind kept drifting back to Matt. She replayed their conversations, his laughter, and that spark of connection they shared. By evening, she found herself pacing in front of the mirror, anxiously applying a coat of lipstick, the anticipation tingling in her veins. When she arrived at the bar, it was as if she had walked into a different world. The atmosphere was electric, yet comforting. She spotted Matt already seated, a glass in hand, surrounded by flickering candlelight. He looked up and grinned when he saw her. He said, standing up to greet her. "Of course," she replied, feeling her nerves settle as their eyes connected. "I thought we could share some stories," he suggested. "Sounds great," Claire said, feeling the air thicken around them. They shared laughter and mutual excitement, exploring the depths of each other's lives. "I wasn't always the owner of a hotel," he shared, his tone turning serious. "I took a big risk, to be honest. This place—" Claire tilted her head, intrigued. "The belief that it could be more than what it was," he said. "I knew if I brought passion into it, the rest would follow, but honestly," Claire asked, wanting to explore his vulnerability. "Absolutely," he replied earnestly. "Success comes with its own set of challenges, like expectations and responsibilities. Sometimes I wonder." Claire felt a knot tighten in her chest, resonating with his words. "But it's also beautiful," he amended, his expression softening. A blush crept across Claire's cheeks as she met his gaze. In that moment, the hotel, the crowd, and everything else faded, leaving just the two of them in a bubble of unspoken understanding. Just as the connection deepened, his phone buzzed on the table. He glanced at it, tension creeping back into his features. "Of course," she said, feeling the air shift. Human connections are complicated, and she knew the reality of his world was pulling him away. "Sorry about this," Matt apologized as he stepped aside, leaving her behind at the table. It was just a moment, yet Claire could feel the weight of the world returning, seeping back into the space between them. The laughter from the bar faded, replaced by her swirling thoughts. Was she just an escape for him? A brief distraction from his carefully constructed life, self-doubt crept in like an unwelcome visitor, making her question everything. A few moments later, Matt returned, the weariness evident in his eyes. "I'm sorry about that. I understand, you have a lot on your plate," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. "I really enjoyed our time together," he said, his eyes digging into hers. "This is new for me, opening up like this." Claire felt a warmth in her heart. "I appreciate your honesty." "I'm glad," he said, leaning closer. A stirring of hope sparked within Claire, but it was immediately followed by uncertainty. She could see how different their worlds were. But how would this even work? Life is filled with challenges. "We make choices, and sometimes those choices lead to amazing connections," he said softly, his sincerity disarming her. The moments unfolded like petals blooming in slow motion as their chemistry intensified. Without realizing, they had moved closer together, as if the space between them had vanished. Claire said, drafting courage, "What happens when the weekend ends?" Matt hesitated, the weight of her words hanging heavily. "That's the real question, isn't it?" Before she could respond, another call from his phone interrupted them again. This time it felt different, like an ominous reminder lurking in the background. She watched him walk away, feeling something shift. As he spoke, Claire wrestled with her feelings, excitement mixed with fear. What if this weekend was just an escape for him, and after they left, she'd be nothing but a fleeting moment in his life? When Matt returned, he carried a worried expression. "I won't be able to stay much longer." "Duty calls," he said, frustration tinging his voice. Claire felt a heaviness settle in her chest, a sense of inevitability. "It's okay?" he asked, desperation lining his features. "Sure," she replied, allowing a tiny spark of hope to flicker amidst her doubts. They exchanged numbers, and as the night drew to a close, Claire felt time slipping away. The darkness outside mirrored her inner turmoil. One part of her yearned to cling to this incredible connection, while another whispered caution, warning her that the world they stepped into was vastly different. When they finally parted ways, Claire watched Matt walk into the bustling lobby, a figure swallowed by the demands of his life. She felt the weight of a decision pressing down. Here stood a man who could offer her the world, yet she was standing on the precipice of something unknown. The next day, Claire continued to explore the city, but her mind was far from present. Memories of her time with Matt swirled like leaves in the wind, vibrant yet fleeting. What would she do when it was time to leave? As evening approached, she found herself at the hotel bar once more, heart racing, hoping he would show. Just as doubts threatened to reach up and pull her under, the familiar figure of Matt pushed through the door looking for her. "There you are," he said, relief flooding his voice. "Me too," Claire said quietly, taking in the seriousness of his expression. "I wanted to talk to you about us," he began, sounding more vulnerable than she had ever heard him. "I know this isn't ideal, I'm the owner and you're just passing through, but the connection between us is real." Her heart raced at his honesty. "But what does that mean? Can we make this work when our lives are so different?" Matt stepped closer, sincerity shining through his deep brown eyes. "I'm not looking for a fill-in, I'm looking for something meaningful, something real." "Investment comes with expectations," Claire whispered, uncertainty gripping her once more. "And expectations come with fear, but they can also lead to new possibilities," he countered, determination sharp in his voice. Claire hesitated, torn between wanting more and fearing what that meant. Their lives did feel worlds apart, but perhaps the real question was whether she was ready to step outside of her comfort zone. "I want to believe you," she confessed, her voice trembling with raw honesty. Matt reached out, clasping her hands in his. "Life isn't simple, it's messy and complicated." Claire took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of his palms against hers. They stood locked in that moment, faces close, emotions rising. The world outside faded into a blur, leaving only the two of them. With a mix of excitement and dread, she leaned closer. He moved in, capturing her lips with his in a soft, hesitant kiss that quickly morphed into something deeper, something more real. Their connection ignited a fire, spiraling into a dance of vulnerability and hope. As they pulled away, Claire felt as if they had crossed an uncharted threshold. Perhaps life wasn't just about the barriers that separated them, but about the choices they made together. Maybe, just maybe, this weekend in the Grand Elm Hotel was the beginning of something extraordinary. In the chaos of lives entwined, Claire realized they were each other's chance at both a fresh start and the authenticity they sought. And as they stepped back into the bustling reality surrounding them, hand in hand, Claire felt more alive than she had in years. The moment Claire stepped into the Grand Outlook Hotel, the air shifted. A sleek chandelier hung above the lobby, casting a golden glow on the polished marble floor, and the rich scent of fresh flowers wafted around her like a warm embrace. She had journeyed to this city, seeking solace from the chaos of her life, and right now, the opulence sat uneasily on her shoulders. As she approached the reception desk, the sound of laughter and chatter filled her ears. Couples mingled, families shared stories, and somewhere a piano played soft melodies that seemed to resonate with her heart. Yet amidst the joyous commotion, Claire felt lost like a solitary figure on a bustling stage. "Good evening," the receptionist's cheerful voice broke through her thoughts. Before she could continue, the large doors swung open and a figure stepped inside. Instantly, the atmosphere shifted. Everyone turned to see a man dressed in a casual navy shirt and fitted jeans. There was nothing ostentatious about him, yet he exuded an air of confidence that drew attention like a magnet. The hotel manager, a sharply dressed man with impeccably styled hair, rushed over. "Mr. Jensen, welcome back." The man Mr. Jensen smiled, revealing dimples that deepened as he acknowledged the manager's greeting. "Thanks, Mark." Claire's heart raced. Who was this man? The way the manager spoke about him sent ripples of curiosity through her. She couldn't help but lean in closer, captivated by the air of authority he carried. "And this is Ms. Claire Harper, our new guest," the manager added, gesturing toward her. "Hi," Claire said, her voice faltering as their eyes met. There it was again, a palpable connection that made her feel seen in a way she hadn't felt in ages. "Nice to meet you, Claire," he replied, his voice smooth and warm, sending an unexpected shiver down her spine. Just then the manager interjected, his tone changing. Mr. Claire felt a flicker of disappointment wash over her as he turned to leave. "I'll catch up with you later, Claire," Matt said, offering her a gentle smile before walking away. Claire stood there, a strange mix of excitement and uncertainty settling in the pit of her stomach. Who was he really? Did he own the hotel? The thought felt almost absurd yet plausible given the veneration in the manager's voice. As she registered those thoughts, the realization struck her this wasn't just a chance encounter. This could be the start of something significant. After checking in, Claire made her way to her room, the key card clutched tightly in her hand. The first night felt like wandering through a dream. In the lavish setting of the hotel, she leaned against the window and gazed down at the vibrant city. Sirens wailed in the distance, music spilled out of cafes, and laughter floated through the air like an echo of a life she wanted to embrace. But no matter how much she tried to immerse herself in the moment, thoughts of Matt persisted. Why was she so drawn to him? Was it the charisma he projected, or the unguarded way he'd looked at her? Each question tangled together in a web of anticipation. Later that night, wanting to escape her swirling thoughts, Claire headed to the hotel bar. It was upscale and intimate, lit by soft lanterns that cast dancing shadows across the walls. As she settled onto a plush bar stool, she ordered a glass of red wine, her heart racing with anticipation. Just when she thought the evening might slip silently by, the door swung open again, and there he was, Matt. Confidence emanated from him as he walked, his aura pulling her in like gravity. Surrounded by laughter, his presence was magnetic, yet the warmth in his eyes remained fixed on her. "Claire," he greeted, smiling broadly as he approached. Claire's heartbeat quickened. "Just exploring my surroundings," she replied almost shyly. "Exploring is good," he said, leaning against the bar. "You have to experience this place fully." "No, I've got this," she gestured to her glass, but the soft smile he wore made it hard to say no. He ordered a second drink and turned his full attention to her. "It's remarkable," Claire admitted, her cheeks warming under his gaze. "You're not alone in feeling that way," he said, his tone genuine. "This place can feel imposing, but it's all about the experience." As they talked, Claire was surprised by how easy it felt to connect with him. They shared stories about their lives, their dreams. Matt spoke about his journey in taking over the hotel, how he had transformed it from a fading relic into a thriving establishment. The passion in his voice captivated her, and for a moment the buzzing world around them faded. But then the hotel manager appeared, a serious expression etched on his face. "Mr." Claire felt the tension return. As Matt shifted back into business mode, she watched him, her heart sinking. Challenges loomed beyond their moment, and reality was reminding her of the temporary nature of their connection. "I'll be right back, I promise," Matt said, his eyes lingering on hers as he walked away. She nodded, but something tugged at her. It was as if a thread had snapped, leaving an uncomfortable emptiness that settled around her. As she waited, Claire wrestled with her thoughts. Part of her wanted to embrace this newfound connection, while the other part cautioned her. The world Matt lived in felt so far removed from her own. When he returned, his brow was slightly creased with worry. "I'm sorry about that." "It's all right," she replied, though a part of her felt as if the moment had shifted. They both knew their lives weren't just a romantic movie plot, they had complexities outside of this luxurious hotel. He asked, an earnest look in his eyes. "Certainly," Claire replied, her heart fluttering with the idea. "Tomorrow night it is," he said, relief washing over him. As they exchanged numbers, Claire felt electrified by the possibilities looming ahead. The next day passed slowly as Claire explored the city. Her thoughts were peppered with imagery of Matt, stirring moments of wonder mixed with uncertainty about their looming separation. Would this connection evolve, or was it simply a fleeting moment in time? When evening rolled around again, Claire arrived at the bar, heart racing as she took in the surroundings. This time she spotted Matt almost immediately. He was sitting at a corner table, a warm smile breaking across his face upon seeing her. "Glad you could make it," he said, his green eyes sparkling with genuine delight. "Wouldn't miss it," Claire replied, her heart fluttering in response to his charm. Once again they exchanged stories, and Claire felt more at ease within the walls of the hotel, yet she couldn't shake the weight of reality pressing in. "You should know," she said, trailing off. "I'm not used to this kind of life, I'm just," he asked, raising an eyebrow. "That's more than enough." They shared laughter, fleeting stories, and when he leaned closer, Claire felt the magnetic pull toward him all over again. But with each moment, her heart weighed heavier. Would he really be interested in her life beyond the flashy Hotel 1? Did he want her or just an escape from his reality? As if reading her thoughts, Matt took a deep breath. It is, Claire admitted, vulnerability creeping into her voice. I want to enjoy this, I really do. Let's not worry about what's next, he replied earnestly, shifting the focus back to the present. But Claire couldn't help but ponder the future. As they finished their drinks, she sensed a shift again. This time it felt different, more serious. Matt said softly, "Is it scary navigating through a life filled with uncertainties?" His honesty made Claire's heart ache. "It is scary, I think everyone feels that sometimes, but it's also what makes life beautiful. We create connections like this one," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "That's the key," he replied, the intensity in his gaze making her pulse quicken. For the first time, Claire felt the possibility of something real unfurling in her heart. Could they truly navigate their differences? As the night wound down, Matt leaned closer. "Of course," she replied, her heartbeat quickening with each step they took together. Outside, the cool evening air felt electrifying, and she inhaled deeply, savoring the moment. Once they reached her door, Matt paused, hesitating. "I don't want this to just be a fleeting moment. I want to explore something real with you," he confessed, his expression serious. Claire's breath caught in her throat. She felt a tidal wave of hope crashing against the shoreline of doubt. His eyes searched hers, the weight of his honesty anchoring them both. She asked, vulnerability carrying her voice. "Then we'll get back up," he said firmly, meeting her gaze with determination. In that moment, an undeniable connection bloomed between them. As he stepped closer, Claire felt herself leaning in too. It was a chance to embrace the unknown, to see where this would lead. Under the soft glow of the hallway light, their lips met in a tentative kiss that felt electric. The moment ignited sparks of warmth, bringing them closer together, bridging the gap between their lives filled with uncertainties. When they finally pulled away, both were breathless, the air thick with possibilities. Claire felt as though she had stumbled into a new chapter, one that could define her journey for years to come. "Tomorrow," Matt whispered, stealing a glance back as he walked away. As she watched him disappear down the hallway, Claire felt a surge of hope blooming in her chest. She realized that the walls she had built around herself were beginning to crack. Perhaps Matt was the unexpected spark she needed to navigate through her own journey of self-discovery. In that moment, beneath the shimmering chandeliers of the Grand Elm Hotel, Claire knew that she was on the brink of something extraordinary. And for the first time in a long while, she felt ready to leap into the unknown. The sound of glass clinking and laughter filled the air as Claire stepped into the lavish lobby of the Grand Lux Hotel. She had been looking forward to this weekend getaway for months, a chance to escape the pressures of her job and the noise of her everyday life. The chandeliers sparkled overhead like stars in the night sky, casting a warm glow over the elegant furnishings and bustling guests. She took a deep breath, the scent of fresh flowers and polished wood enveloping her. But somewhere beneath that, she felt a dull thrum of anxiety. She had just gone through a difficult breakup, and stepping into this high-end hotel felt like stepping onto a stage where everyone was in on a secret, and she had not received the memo on how to perform. As she wandered towards the reception desk, she noticed a man across the lobby. Dressed casually in a navy shirt and jeans, he carried an air of confidence that made him stand out among the well-dressed crowd. Guests around him chatted animatedly, their faces lighting up at his jokes. Claire couldn't help but watch, intrigued. The receptionist's voice jolted her back to reality. Claire said a bit too eagerly, glancing back at the man. He was now heading toward the desk as well, his smile warm and infectious. While Claire checked in, she overheard the hotel manager approach the man. "Welcome back, Mr. Jensen." Claire blinked, momentarily stunned. Mr. Jensen. The way the manager spoke, it sounded as if he were talking to royalty. She turned slightly, trying to catch another glimpse of him. As he moved closer, their eyes locked for a brief moment, and Claire felt a jolt in her chest. "Hi there," he said, his gaze steady and inviting. "Claire," she replied, her voice softer than she intended. She could feel the heat rising in her cheeks as she registered how close they stood. "Nice to meet you," he replied, a genuine smile lighting up his face. The hotel manager interjected again. "Mr. Sure," he said, but then glanced back at Claire. "Yeah, definitely," she managed, her heart racing. As he walked toward the manager, the moment felt like it had slipped away, lost in the sea of conversations and the hum of the lobby. Claire felt a strange sense of longing wash over her. What was it about him that felt different? There was a spark, an undeniable connection, yet she barely knew him. After checking in, Claire settled into her room. The decor was stunning, but all she could think about was the brief encounter in the lobby. She walked to the window, glancing out at the stunning view of the city below, the lights twinkling like stars scattered across a dark canvas. Later that evening, feeling restless, Claire decided to explore the hotel's amenities. She found herself drawn to the bar area where soft music played, and the atmosphere felt both intimate and inviting. As she ordered a glass of wine, she caught sight of Matt again, sitting at a table surrounded by friends, their laughter ringing like music through the air. Intrigued, she leaned against the bar, watching as he animatedly recounted a story. The way he held the room captivated her. There was something magnetic about him. As if sensing her gaze, he turned and made eye contact. A smile crept across his face as he raised his glass in her direction. She felt warmth spread through her, and for a moment everything else faded away. Hey. One of his friends called out, waving her over. Claire hesitated, anxiety bubbling up again, but before she could decline, Matt stood up from his seat, making his way toward her. "I wasn't sure you'd come," he teased lightly, his eyes sparkling. "I didn't want to intrude," she said, looking past him at the group. Matt shook his head. "You'd be a welcome addition." With a flutter of nerves, she followed him to the table. As she settled into a chair, laughter erupted around her. They exchanged jokes, stories, and laughter flowed freely. It felt good to be in the company of others, engaging in a shared experience, even if the crowd reminded her of how out of place she felt. As the evening wore on, the conversation shifted to more personal stories. Claire found herself sharing bits of her life, the challenges with her job, her recent breakup, and her hopes for a fresh start. It felt liberating to open up. "I understand that," Matt said, leaning forward. His sincerity wrapped around her, and for the first time Claire felt seen. She asked, glancing at him. Matt hesitated for a moment, a flicker of something unspoken crossing his face. "Every day is a risk," he confessed. "I fought to establish this hotel and make it something special." The room grew quieter as his friends listened, intrigued. Claire felt a pang of empathy. "It must be tough to balance everything," she said softly, genuinely moved. "It is." "I want to build something that lasts," he said, his gaze steady. Just then, the hotel manager approached again, his expression serious. "Mr. Jensen, we need to finalize the budget for the renovations tomorrow." Claire noticed a shift in Matt. The casual charm faded, replaced by a serious demeanor. "Yes, of course, I'll be there," he replied, but his eyes flickered back to Claire, an apologetic look crossing his face. Claire said, her heart pounding, "Why do you keep coming back?" "This hotel seems amazing, but it's also..." He grinned, but it was a bittersweet smile. As the conversation flowed again, Claire noticed how different Matt seemed, the weight of his life pressing down on him. She admired his dedication, but couldn't shake the feeling of their lives being worlds apart. After a while, Matt stood, the atmosphere shifting once more. "I'll be right back," he said, walking away to take a call. Claire felt the brightness fade as he left the table, suddenly aware of just how fast the moment could slip through her fingers. As the evening continued, Claire spoke with others at the table, yet her mind was elsewhere. Watching Matt juggle the demands of his life felt surreal, and a gnawing sense of uncertainty crept in. Would this connection last? By the time Matt returned, it was difficult to mask the change she sensed. "Sorry about that," he apologized, his voice filled with genuine regret. "It's fine," Claire said, although she could feel the tension in the room. He nodded, but she could see the weariness in his eyes. "I didn't mean to leave you hanging, but let's not let that take away from the evening." Claire felt a rush of warmth, as if a small flame had been ignited inside her. They fell into easy conversation again, but Claire sensed something unsettled beneath the surface. She could see how much he cared, the passion behind his work, but it all felt complicated. She finally asked, biting the bullet. Matt paused, the weight of her question heavy in the air. In that moment, Claire felt a rush of vulnerability wash over her. "We live in different worlds, Matt. I'm just here for a few days. You've built something significant, and I..." He leaned closer, the warmth between them palpable. But Claire hesitated. What if it's just a distraction for both of us? Matt's eyes held hers, deep and sincere. Life is full of choices. As the evening progressed, Claire felt emotions swirling within her like a storm. The connection they shared was undeniable, yet the reality of their different circumstances teetered on the edge of uncertainty. Hours later, as the bar began to empty, Matt leaned in closer. "Can we meet again tomorrow?" "Of course," Claire replied, her heart beating faster. "How about the rooftop?" "It's beautiful there at sunset," he suggested, his smile infectious. She nodded, excitement bubbling inside her, but then a flicker of caution stopped her. "Then let's make today count," he said softly, his gaze steady. With that, they exchanged numbers, a subtle promise lingering unspoken between them. As Claire walked back to her room, she felt a rush of possibilities unfolding ahead of her. That night, Claire lay in bed, replaying every moment of the evening, every laugh, every glance. But just as the sweetness of it all enveloped her, doubt crept in. Could she really dive into this connection, knowing it might lead to heartache? The next evening, she arrived at the rooftop, her heart pounding, anticipation electrifying the air. As she stepped onto the terrace, the golden sun dipped below the skyline, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange. Matt appeared moments later, his presence lighting up the space. "You made it," he said, a grin spreading across his face. "I wouldn't miss it," Claire replied, her spirits lifting as they embraced the view together. They shared stories, laughter bubbling between them like the champagne in the glasses they held. In the dim light, she felt something shift within her, a sense of liberation, a connection deeper than she had expected. "I can tell you're someone who isn't afraid to chase their dreams," Matt said, his voice steady. "And you're someone who carries the weight of a lot of responsibility," Claire replied, a hint of admiration in her tone. "Because I love this place," he said, gesturing to the view. "It carries so much potential and I want to see it thrive." His passion radiated through the air, wrapping around her like a comforting hug. "You deserve to find your own sense of purpose as well," he added, sincerity shining through. As the sun finally dipped below the horizon, Claire turned to face him. She whispered, her vulnerability surfacing. Matt took a step closer, reaching out to cup her jaw gently. "Then I'll help you find it." In that moment, Claire felt a spark ignite within her, a flicker of hope, a sense of possibility. Maybe it was time to let go of her fears and embrace the unknown. As the stars blanketed the sky, they found themselves sharing another delicate kiss, something beautiful and profound unfolding between them. Suddenly, the weight of their individual worlds didn't matter as much. All that remained was the promise of connection, a chance to explore what lay ahead. When they finally broke apart, Claire was breathless. "Let's see where this goes," she said, the warmth in her heart igniting a fire of hope. "Absolutely," Matt replied, determination reflected in his eyes. In the stillness of that rooftop beneath a tapestry of stars, Claire felt a sense of clarity emerge. They were both navigating tumultuous waters, but maybe, just maybe, they could ride the waves together. At that moment, her heart felt more alive than it had in years. As they embraced the night, Claire knew one thing for sure: sometimes the most unexpected connections could lead to the most extraordinary destinations. And with that thought blossoming in her mind, they stepped forward, ready to embrace whatever came next. The moment Claire stepped into the Grand Vista Hotel, a wave of sophistication washed over her, starkly contrasting the chaos she had left behind in her small town. The lobby was grand, with high ceilings that seemed to touch the sky and elegant chandeliers that sparkled like diamonds. A soft piano melody danced in the background, filling the space with a warmth that drew her in. She felt out of place but hopeful, wearing a simple yet classy dress that clung to her figure just right. She was here to rediscover herself, to shake off the weight of her past, and maybe, just maybe, to make a fresh start. As she approached the reception desk, Claire caught sight of a man standing off to the side, engaged in conversation with the hotel manager. He was tall, with tousled dark hair that framed a chiseled face. His presence radiated a confidence that pulled the eye, drawing her attention like a flame to a moth. Moments later, the interaction took an unexpected turn. "Mr. Johnson, it's so great to have you back," the hotel manager said, his voice full of enthusiasm. Claire's heart raced as she realized he was addressing the man who had captivated her attention. Mr. Johnson, was he the owner? The gravity of the hotel manager's tone suggested a level of importance that felt both daunting and intriguing. The man turned to look at her, his gaze sharp yet inviting. Then he glanced back at Claire, a smile creeping across his lips. "Claire Harper," she said, feeling flustered. "A pleasure to meet you, Claire," he said, extending a hand. "Nice to meet you," she replied, shaking his hand, her pulse quickening at the warmth of his grasp. Just then, the manager broke in again. "If you'll excuse me, Mr." "Sure, I'll be right there," Jake said, giving Claire one last glance, a flicker of something passed between them, curiosity, maybe, or attraction. As he walked away, Claire felt a strange mix of excitement and disappointment. Why did he have to leave? As she made her way to her room, the encounter replayed in her mind. Who was this man, the owner of the Grand Vista Hotel, and yet, despite his status, he had approached her with genuine interest. She dropped her bags in her room and walked to the window, her heart heavy with anticipation. She could see the city below bustling with life, but all she could focus on was what might happen next. Later that evening, Claire wandered into the hotel bar. The soft light created an atmosphere that was both intimate and alluring. She ordered a glass of Chardonnay, hoping it would ease the lingering anxiety in her chest. As she took a sip, she caught sight of Jake across the room, engaged in conversation with a group of well-dressed guests. He was animated, gesturing enthusiastically as laughter erupted around him. For a moment, Claire felt like a ghost, hovering on the edges of a vivid world that wasn't quite hers. She longed to be part of it, to bridge that gap and become someone he could talk to again. Before she could overthink it, Claire stood up and approached the group, heart pounding in her chest. She asked, forcing herself to ignore the apprehension rippling through her. Jake turned at the sound of her voice, his expression lighting up. "Claire, I didn't think I'd see you here." She sank into the empty seat, feeling the warmth of his smile wash over her. She asked, trying to keep the tone casual. "Better now," he replied, winking at her before turning back to the group. They continued their light banter, trading stories and laughter as Claire became swept up in the moment. But as time passed, she felt the tension in the air shift. Jake's friends began to discuss plans for renovations and future expansions, discussing numbers and strategies with a seriousness that wove a complex tapestry she was not a part of. Claire leaned back in her chair, feeling the weight of her own inexperience. The cheerful chatter suddenly felt overwhelming, a reminder of how out of place she was. She could feel the energy shift around her, and a sliver of doubt crept in. "Mister, I think if we lean into the elegance of the hotel while making it inviting and modern, we've got a winning combination," Jake replied, his focus razor-sharp. But as he spoke, Claire felt more like a spectator in a world she didn't belong to. "Just a heads up," another friend chimed in teasingly. "Don't forget about the artist they want commissioned for the mural." The conversation continued, and Clara's mind drifted as she wrestled with her insecurities. She wanted to impress him, to be someone who belonged in this sophisticated world, but would he even see her that way? As the night went on, she felt herself withdrawing, unsure of where she fit into the vibrant narrative unfolding around her. When Jake glanced at her, concern flickered in his eyes. He asked, his voice gentle, pulling her from her thoughts. "Yeah, I'm fine, just..." "You all seem to be well versed in this world," Claire replied, forcing a smile. "There's always a learning curve, Claire," he said, leaning closer. "I appreciate that," she said, her heart swelling. "Trust me," he replied, his gaze steady. "You belong here as much as anyone else." His words ignited something deep within her, a flicker of hope battling against self-doubt. "Thank you," Claire whispered, warmth flooding her cheeks. Just then the manager approached once more, cutting through the moment. "Mr. Sure Thing," Jake replied, his tone serious again as he stood to consult with the manager. Claire watched him walk away and felt the connection tethered to the moment they shared. But now that bond felt suspended against the backdrop of his duties, and the reality of his world loomed larger than before. As the evening wound down, she realized the barriers that lay between them would never truly disappear. It felt bittersweet, like a beautiful glimpse into the life of someone she connected with, yet couldn't completely grasp. The next day, Claire decided to explore the city and clear her mind. She roamed through art galleries and hidden cafes, capturing snapshots of the vibrant street life, but her thoughts remained tangled in her encounter with Jake. Who was she to think she could enter his world? That evening, Claire ventured back to the hotel bar. A sense of purpose bubbled within her as she took a seat. As she swirled the ice in her glass, she caught sight of Jake walking toward her, his stride confident and purposeful. "Fancy seeing you here," he said, sliding onto the stool beside her. "I thought I'd return the favor," Claire replied, trying to exude confidence even as her heart raced. "Glad you did," he grinned. "More than I could have imagined," she replied, her excitement bubbling over. "Different can be refreshing," he said, his voice low. They began to share more personal stories again. Claire opened up about her struggle to find direction after her breakup, and Jake shared his own experiences, how he had taken risks to forge a new path and build his venture. "It wasn't easy," he said, leaning in closer. Claire nodded, wanting to soak in every word. "I admire that. Most days, at least," he replied with a chuckle, but there was a hint of vulnerability that slipped through. As the hours passed, it was almost as if time slowed down. Claire felt a tug of emotion rise within her, a mix of fear and exhilaration. She was becoming someone anew, standing on the edge of something that could alter her life. Jake asked, his voice earnest. "Of course," she said, not needing to think twice. As they locked eyes, Claire sensed a deeper connection forming, but doubt flickered in the back of her mind. Could she truly bridge the gap between their worlds? Suddenly, Matt moved closer. Claire's heart raced, caught in a whirlwind of emotions. "It feels special to me too," she admitted, struggling to keep her words steady. He urged gently, his gaze unwavering. "But I worry about what happens next," she confessed. "Your life is so different, can be exciting, Claire," he said, his intensity unwavering. They sat in silence for a moment, lost in the tumult of their thoughts. Claire felt as if she were standing on the edge of a precipice, ready to leap into the unknown. Later that night, as she lay in bed, Claire felt remnants of their conversations swirling in her mind. Would she be brave enough to step into his world, or would fear hold her back? The next evening arrived, and she found herself somehow more determined. When she stepped onto the rooftop for their meeting, the sunset painted the sky in hues of orange and pink, and her spirit felt lighter. Jake was already there, leaning against the railing, and when he saw her, a grin broke across his face. "Wouldn't miss it," she replied, feeling freer under the open sky. The rooftop felt magical, like a secret world entirely their own. They began to share stories again, laughter rising and falling between them as they marveled at the view. Suddenly, their conversation turned serious. Jake asked, leaning closer, his expression earnest. "I want to step into my life, embrace these uncertainties," she said honestly. "But I'm scared of what that looks like with you. Every meaningful connection carries risks," he said softly. Claire's heart raced, caught between fear and desire. "Let's take it one step at a time," he suggested. With the backdrop of the sunset and the vast city below, Claire felt the urge to embrace the uncertainty, to confront her fears head-on. "Okay," she said, her voice resolute. They moved closer, and in that beautiful moment they found themselves caught in another kiss. It was tender yet intense, an acknowledgement of the connection they had forged, two souls tangled in the present. As they pulled away, Claire couldn't shake the warmth flooding her heart. "This feels right," she whispered. "Then let's not question it," Jake replied, a smile dancing on his lips. As the night unfolded, Claire realized she had crossed the threshold into something new, something vibrant and full of possibility. Their lives might be different, but that difference had sparked a connection deeper than she could have imagined. And under the stars, amidst the hum of the city, Claire felt ready to redefine her journey, to rewrite her story, and perhaps to find a place where she truly belonged. And with that thought, she was no longer afraid. The lobby of the Grand Serenity Hotel buzzed with life, filled with the sounds of laughter, the clinking of glasses, and soft piano music weaving through the air like a gentle breeze. Claire stepped inside, her heart thudding in her chest. This was supposed to be her fresh start, a chance to escape the mundane routine of her life. Opulence of the hotel felt overwhelming, like stepping onto a stage where she didn't quite know her lines. As she walked toward the reception desk, her eyes scanned the elegant decor, from the towering chandelier that glimmered above to the plush velvet chairs that beckoned guests to sit and relax. But something or someone caught her attention. A man stood in the corner, laughing with a small group of guests. He wore a simple navy blazer over a crisp white shirt, and his casual charm radiated confidence. His hair fell just right, framing a face that was somehow familiar yet foreign. She couldn't help but stare, intrigued by the way he commanded the room. The voice of the receptionist pulled her from her thoughts. Claire replied, trying to shake off the distraction as she stepped up to the counter. Behind the desk, the receptionist smiled warmly as she tapped on her keyboard. "Welcome to the Serenity Hotel. Claire Harper," she said, her voice steadying. Just then the hotel manager approached the group of guests, clearly eager to speak to the man in the navy blazer. "Mr. Thompson, welcome back." Claire's heart sank. Mr. Thompson. The way the manager spoke hinted at a deeper significance, like this man wasn't just another guest. She stole a glance at him, her curiosity piqued. "Thank you, Jonathan," he replied, shaking the manager's hand before turning his attention to Claire. "I'm Claire, just checked in," she replied, her cheeks flushing. "Well, it's lovely to meet you, Claire," he said with a warm smile that lit up his face. She nodded politely, feeling a magnetic pull toward him, but just as quickly the manager addressed him again. "Mr. Of course," he said, but as he walked away, he offered Claire one last glance that sent a shiver down her spine. After checking in, Claire walked to her room, feeling a mixture of excitement and disappointment. Who was this man? Why did he have such a powerful presence? She placed her suitcase down and glanced out the window, gazing at the sprawling city below. The lights twinkled like stars, but her mind was filled with thoughts of the man she had just met. Later that evening, Claire decided to explore the hotel. The bar area was inviting, and she could feel the warmth radiating from the dimly lit space. As she approached the bar, she decided to order a glass of wine, hoping it would ease her nerves. While waiting, she glanced around and spotted Mr. Thompson again, now deeper in conversation with a group of friends. He laughed effortlessly, the kind of laugh that seemed to draw everyone in. A mix of admiration and envy surged through her as she watched. Moments later, the group turned toward her, and Mr. Thompson caught her eye again. Their gazes locked, and for a brief moment Claire felt as if the world around them faded away. He raised an eyebrow and gave a slight nod, a gesture she took as an invitation. Gathering her courage, Claire approached the group. "Hi, not at all, join us," he said, making room for her at the table. His friends welcomed her with warmth, and the conversation flowed effortlessly. He asked, genuinely interested. "It's beautiful," she said, glancing around. "Don't," he replied, leaning slightly closer. Everyone is new at some point. As the night went on, Claire found herself engaged in lively conversation, sharing pieces of her life while listening to the stories of others. Laughter rang out, and she felt a sense of belonging, something she hadn't felt in a long time. But just as she thought the moment might last forever, the hotel manager returned, this time with urgency in his voice. "Mr." Claire watched as Jake's demeanor shifted, the warmth fading from his eyes as he donned a mask of seriousness. "Of course," he replied, but he cast a hesitant glance in her direction. "I'll catch up with you later, Claire," he confirmed, and just like that, he was gone, leaving her feeling exposed. The lively atmosphere of the bar dimmed as she returned to her drink, trying to regain her composure. She took another sip of her wine, feeling the warmth in her cheeks, but also the pang of longing. There was something special about Jake, something that stirred within her, yet the conventional barriers of their worlds lingered like a shadow. When the night finally wrapped up, Claire returned to her room, her heart heavy with the weight of inevitability. Would Jake even remember her once the weekend was over? The following day, Claire set out to explore the city, her thoughts heavily occupied by the man she barely knew. She sunk her teeth into the vibrant life outside, a stark contrast to the quiet luxury of the hotel. Yet no matter how much she tried to embrace the moment, her mind kept drifting back to Jake, wondering what he was doing and whether he was still thinking about her. That evening, she found herself in the hotel bar again, hoping for a familiar face. As she sat at the counter, her heart raced with anticipation. Minutes turned into hours, but he never arrived. Disappointment washed over her, each tick of the clock a reminder of the fleeting time they had. Just when she was about to leave, she heard a familiar voice. "Claire." Jake stood before her, his casual charm shining brighter than ever. "I'm sorry I'm late. Work got in the way," he said, his eyes apologetic. "You're here now," she replied, a smile breaking through her earlier disappointment. He urged, moving past her. She followed, feeling a rush of energy coursing through her veins. They settled at a quieter table, the atmosphere feeling different, intimate, and charged. Claire could feel the air between them thicken as they spoke about their days, sharing laughter and stories that felt sacred. But as the night wore on, Claire noticed a change in Jake. The moment of ease between them was broken by the arrival of two sharply dressed colleagues, their faces pinned with seriousness. "Jake, we need to talk about the upcoming launch," one of them said, pulling his attention away. Claire felt the warmth vanish as Jake shifted his focus, pulling away from their connection. "I'll be right there," he replied, his tone serious. With that, Claire sat at the table, the laughter from earlier dwindling into silence, leaving her feeling like an outsider again. She could feel the tension surrounding Jake, and doubt began to claw at her gut. Was she just another distraction in his busy life? The colleagues spoke in hushed tones, discussing numbers and strategies, and Claire could hear their voices rising as the conversation became heated. As she sipped her drink, she tried to wrap her head around what had developed between them. It seemed so real, yet the pressures of his life loomed around him like a dark cloud. "Sorry," Jake returned to her after what felt like an eternity. "Get it," she said, though a sense of anxiety lingered in her chest. "No, really, it doesn't have to be that way," he replied, leaning closer, his eyes serious. Claire asked, the vulnerability creeping back into her tone. "I don't know," he admitted, running a hand through his hair, frustration evident in his voice. In that moment, Claire felt the weight of their situation hang heavily in the air. "I want to see where this connection leads," she said, her heart racing, a surge of hope igniting her words. "You're more than that to me," he insisted, his voice low and sincere. But just as they locked eyes, someone from Jake's group of colleagues approached them again, cutting through their moment. "Jake, we need to discuss strategy now," the man interrupted, urgency lacing his tone. Claire felt deflated as Jake excused himself once more, his expression apologetic but resolute. She couldn't shake the familiarity of this feeling, the uncertainty, the almost connection clouded by responsibilities outside their control. As the evening progressed, Claire felt increasingly adrift. She couldn't shake the doubt creeping into her heart, forcing her to reassess everything. Later that night, she returned to her room, her mind racing. The walls felt like they were closing in, the silence amplifying her conflicting emotions. Just as she leaned against the window to take a breath, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Jake. Any residual doubt was overshadowed by thrill as she quickly changed and made her way to the rooftop. The night air was crisp and cool, and the stars twinkled above, a beautiful backdrop for what felt like a pivotal moment. When she arrived, Jake stood at the edge, looking out over the city. The sight stirred something within her. He looked so powerful and vulnerable all at once. "Thanks for coming," he said, turning to face her. "I wanted to," she replied, breathless. "Listen, I've been thinking a lot," he paused, taking a deep breath. Claire held her breath, emotions swirling in her chest. "I don't want to let you go," he said, taking a step closer. Claire felt her chest tighten. "I know," he replied, his voice heavy, "but I want to try." Just then, the wind picked up around them, and Claire could feel the weight of the world pressing down. Would she really dive into this unpredictability, knowing the risks involved? The truth hung in the air between them, and Claire's heart dropped. She had sensed a barrier, but this was monumental. The realization struck like a tidal wave. "Wait," she stammered, struggling to collect her thoughts. "I know," he said, desperation etched in his features. Standing there, under the blanket of stars, Claire felt the weight of their worlds colliding. Would she step into this life drawn before her, or retreat back into the shadows of her own? The cliffhanger of the moment loomed heavy, the choice stretching before her like an endless chasm. She locked eyes with Jake, his expression a mixture of hope and uncertainty, and in that moment everything hinged on her next words. What would she decide? Would she take the leap into the unknown or step back from the edge? The air pulsed with unspoken possibilities, and the stakes had never felt higher.